Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. This movie was great. Going into this movie, I had a lot in my mind. I knew what Zack Snyder would bring to the table, and I know critics can be way too critical about movies. I watched some early reviews on this movie, and I gotta say, most of them got it wrong. This movie was awesome. There is a plot. Unlike most people will have you believe, there really isn't one. Batman isn't this crazy guy going around killing people with guns like a lot of people are saying. As a DC fan, I know a thing or two about Batman and Superman, and what the story is inspired from. If you guys have read Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns, this Batman is heavily influenced from that comic book. Let's start with directing. Zack Snyder pulls off yet another awesome movie. If you're a fan of his, from 300, Sucker Punch, Watchmen, and even Man of Steel, you know what you're getting when you go to watch his movies. A dark, gritty, beautiful cinematography, and a bunch of action and violence. This movie delivers on all fronts. Oh, and can I say that's how you do an origin story? The very beginning of this movie is the origin story of Bruce Wayne, and it's done perfectly. Like, it doesn't have to be 30 minutes of the movie like other comic book movies that we get. Like, this is short and to the point, and it's perfect for what we need. Let's talk about the actors. Henry Cavill once again reprises his role as Superman, and he does an amazing job. To me, he is Superman. Out of every actor that's played Superman, he is the best version of Superman we have seen. He looks like he was ripped out of the pages and just put on the movie screen. Ben Affleck does an amazing job at Batman, and Jeremy Irons is a great Alfred. From the little we did get from Jeremy Irons, I can tell he's going to be an awesome Alfred in future movies and the Batman standalone that we're possibly getting. Speaking of Batman, though, this is hands down the best Batman we have ever gotten for live action. Out of everyone who's played Batman, this is Batman to me. Like, this was perfect. The costume looks so good. He is in amazing fit condition. And not only just him in the suit, but him portraying Bruce Wayne. Just both go hand in hand perfectly. He does an amazing Batman. The fight scenes with him are amazing and awesome. And that's how Batman should be fighting, not slow, swaying punches like previous movies. He's dark, he's gritty, and he just kicks a lot of ass. And it's just awesome. All the scenes with Ben Affleck playing Bruce are just perfect. He embodies Bruce Wayne just so perfectly, and he just looks like Bruce Wayne so much. Speaking of looks, Gal Gadot plays a wonderful Wonder Woman. No pun intended. I had my doubts with her at first when she was first casted, but boy was I wrong. She looks amazing as Wonder Woman, and when she came out in her outfit, I was clapping, and everyone in the audience was hooting and hollering. Like, she looks so good as Wonder Woman. She plays a great Wonder Woman, not only in her costume, but when she's out of her costume. The chemistry that she has with Bruce Wayne at the party is just great, and what we see from the cartoons and comics. She just looks beautiful in her armor, and also very tough. Now let's talk about Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor. A lot of people said he was crazy, and he sputtered a lot, and it acted like he was on coke, but I didn't really see it. Was he the Lex I'm used to? Is he the ones from Cartoon Network's Justice League and Superman 90s cartoon and any interpretation I've read in comic books? No. But this is a whole new Lex. Not even Lex. Alexander Luthor. It's Lex's son. Does it work? Kind of. To me, he's a young businessman, an eccentric philanthropist. He reminds me of someone who's very smart, but just doesn't get out often. That's why when you see him talking with people, he's kind of awkward and quirky and just has a weird feel about him when he's around people. Giving him a certain demeanor, especially when he's giving his speech at the party, that's why, he sputters or loses track of what he's talking about. And he just felt nervous, which would make sense. He's a smart kid, but he doesn't seem like he's socially awkward. But I did like his wit throughout the movie. Now, DC fanboys, comic purists, and just anybody who knows the stories of Batman, Superman, and just a lot about their characters. You, as did I, have to realize this isn't our DC universe that we're used to. This is the cinematic universe. Just like Marvel doesn't do exactly everything the same way they do it in the comic books, neither does DC. And we are seeing that with this movie. And they do change a lot of stuff, and we just have to accept that. Because this is the cinematic universe, not our DC universe that we're used to. This DC universe is the same one where Joker has tattoos. Batman is a lot older than he was when Justice League started. Lex doesn't lose his hair to kryptonite radiation, nor is he a big, intimidating, bald guy. Well, now he's bald, but he's still not big and intimidating. Deadshot isn't white, and the Flash, Barry, or Wally doesn't have red or blonde hair. Aquaman isn't some white, blonde-haired guy in the sea. He's more Samoan. Our characters are changing, and as much as I and a lot of other people wish it was exactly like the comic books, it's not, and it won't be. We just gotta accept the change and enjoy the DC Cinematic Universe for what it is. And this is coming from someone who really wants them to stick to how it is in the comic books. I just realized as much as we hoot and holler about they need to do this right, it just doesn't seem, not only just in DC, but also in Marvel, doesn't matter what we want, they're just going to do what they think is right for their company and for their movies. This is a whole nother argument that I can make a whole video about, but let's just get back to the review. Cinematography was great as always, and the dark gritty tones with Batman and the more lighter colors with Superman was a good balance between both of them. The music score in this was outstanding. Superman, as always, was good. Lex's was awesome, and Batman's was dark and grungy, and Wonder Woman might have been my favorite theme out of the whole movie. When it came on, it was just like so pumping, and you just were super engaged in the fight. The movie's plot to me was easy to follow. You guys do have to realize, unlike Marvel, who had a lot of movies to set up the Avengers, DC only has Man of Steel and this movie to set up Justice League. So yes, they had to do a lot of cramming in, but to me, it felt fine. Like, I could follow the plot easy, I could see what they were going for with certain things. It was just easy for me to understand everything. Was this because I'm a DC fan? I don't know, maybe. But even when it wasn't hinting at the characters and all the foreshadowing of the Justice League, to me, I think the plot was still easy to follow. Was this a groundbreaking plot or story? No. But it was good enough for the movie. I do wish I could watch the 3-hour director's cut of this movie, but I guess I'm just gonna have to wait till the Blu-ray hits. Speaking of all the foreshadowing, we do get to see Aquaman, the Flash, and Cyborg. It's only for a few seconds, but it's pretty cool. I do feel like the Aquaman scene could have been a little bit better, though. So in the movie, there's a small part that happens with Bruce. Now, if you don't want to hear any spoilers, there's just a quick one, so skip to this part if you don't want to hear it. After he gets out of his dream sequence, we see the Flash appear in front of him talking about Lois Lane. Now, he's in some type of mech suit. At first, I got confused who it was because his face looks like the Flash, but he had some weird mech suit on, so I was like, wait, what's happening? And then, after he got done saying, he disappeared, so kind of took me by surprise. I think this could be a start of the Flashpoint Paradox, which if they do decide to go down that road, I think it would be awesome, but I really think they should wait a lot of movies before they attempt to do the Flashpoint Paradox. Alright, so now that we're out of the spoilers, let's talk about the action. Oh boy, was there action in this movie. The fight scenes with Batman are awesome. Like, this is the best fight scenes with Batman we've ever seen in any iteration of Batman in any live action. This is how Batman should fight. You watch the animated series, you read the comic books, you see how Batman moves and fights. This is how Batman should be fighting, not Dark Knight Returns where he fights Bane all sloppy and slow. That's not how Batman fights. Or any of the other iterations of Batman that we have seen. This is how Batman fights. He uses his gadgets, he uses kicks, punches, flips, everything. It's just so awesome. The warehouse scene that you saw from the trailer is just a great action scene with Batman. Remember when I said people were saying Batman was killing people? Well, they're wrong. If you want to take this as a spoiler, you can, but it's all in the trailer, so you've been warned. The only time Batman kills people is in his dream sequence. He snaps some dude's neck, he shoots people, but they all have vests on, so I highly doubt they died. When he's not in the dream sequence, he does shoot people in his Batmobile with a machine gun. Now, these cars do blow up. Are these people dead? Most likely, probably. But you don't see anyone dying from his hand. That's still not Batman killing people. And if you want to take it that way, then you can. But if you played any Batman Arkham games, especially Arkham Origins, he kills people in his Batmobile. He destroys cars. I've even seen in animated films where he's destroying vehicles where bad guys are in. A ton of heroes do this. It's just a way to get rid of a villain without exactly killing them off. When he's dealing with people hand to hand, there's only one moment where he goes a little bit to the extreme with his violence, where he stabs some guy in the arm. But there's no him shooting anybody outside of the dream sequence. The fight with Batman in the warehouse, I think, ties for number one best fight scene in this movie. I would say the fight with Batman vs. Superman is the second best fight scene. It was a good fight scene. It was really enjoyable. But I do think the warehouse fight scene and the end fight scene with Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman and Doomsday tie for the best fight scene. They both are very different, so that's why I said they tie, because Batman is Batman and it was just an awesome fight scene. And then you get this over-the-top CGI, crazy powers, and great action at the very end. That's what I like about this movie. We get awesome fights with Batman, and we get awesome hero superpowers going at it head to head, and it was just such an awesome conclusion of this movie, and such an awesome, great fight scene that we got to see with all the heroes versus Doomsday. A lot of people don't like that, but this is what you go to see when you're watching a comic book superhero movie. These guys have superhero powers, and I want to see them use all their abilities they have and just go crazy and fight. And that's what I'm looking for when I'm watching these movies. I want to see awesome over-the-top action. I want to see realistic fighting. I want to see people with powers using their powers to beat up other people. And it's just a great way of showing it. And Wonder Woman is such a badass in this movie. She is on point with her fighting skill, and when she gets knocked down, she comes right back, and it's just so awesome. Now let's talk about some of the negatives I have with this film. Lois Lane. I still don't like her. I don't know if it's Amy Adams or how they write her, but I just don't like her character. She isn't horrible, but I just think they could have found a much better person to portray Lois Lane, and someone who looks a lot more like her. In this movie, at the beginning, she has a purpose, and then she just kind of ends up being, the damsel in distress, and not very important by the end of the movie. The second thing I don't like about this movie is Lex. Now, I'm iffy with him. I can see they're trying something new, but doing that isn't always the best. This is a new Lex, what I'm not used to. And it's not even Lex, it's Alexander, Lex's son. And I can see what they're going for, but I just don't think it hits the nail on the head. I have a feeling I know where they're going with him for the next movie. Because you have to remember, no one thought Walter White was going to be this awesome character at the end of Breaking Bad. In the very beginning, he's nothing like he is at the end of the show. And I have a feeling that what happens at the end with Lex could potentially motivate him and make his character grow from what happened and become a more dominant and fearing character. Not how he was throughout this movie. I do think this is just a start for Lex, and I hope it is. I hope that he gets better with time, now that he's bald. I do hope his character progresses from what he's been through. But the first impression for me just wasn't that good. The last thing was Doomsday. Now, he's not horrible. The CGI wasn't that bad. It wasn't amazing, but it was still good. He does kind of remind me of like an orc character from Lord of the Rings or some Hulk villain, but he does slowly become more Doomsday looking by the end of the movie. I don't like that he wasn't the normal Doomsday. I do feel like if they stuck with his storyline, it would have been so much more engaging. And they still could have done with the whole thing with Lex finding his crashed ship in the Earth. And I just think that storyline would have made it better instead of, Zod getting rebirthed essentially into this Doomsday that we now have in this movie. I feel like there's just so much lost potential with not telling the actual Doomsday story. This Doomsday has a different power set than the previous Doomsday in the comic books. Now, I'm not saying he's stronger than the one in the comic books, but he has, this energy field. I mean, because he is rebirthed from Zod, or made from Zod, he does have more abilities than the other Doomsday. His fight scene was fun, and I did enjoy it. I just feel like it would have been a lot better if they used the original storyline for Doomsday. There wasn't much I could say that was bad about this film. Was this film one of the best comic book movies I've ever seen? No. But it was very good, and it did set up a lot of stuff for future movies, and we needed that. I think what it did good, it did really good. And even though it had some iffy parts here and there, I think it was still a really enjoyable film. I definitely would watch it again. And this is why I give Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice an 8.5 out of 10. If you guys enjoyed my video, give it a like. And if you guys want to see more reviews and other videos from me, hit that subscribe button. And thanks for watching.